All right, everybody have 7.5 pulled up. Come on, come on, come on. We're going to talk today about operations with matrices. Operations means we're going to add them, and we're going to do some scalar multiplication. Similar-ish to our vector stuff that we did, but when we talk about adding matrices, guys, all right, you have each position in your matrix is called an entry. So each entry kind of corresponds with the other one. Big thing you need to remember when you're adding and subtracting, okay? I have it highlighted real big so you guys can see this because multiplication is a little different. When you are adding and subtracting, dimensions of the matrix have to be the same. So meaning like a 2 by 2 can be added to a 2 by 2. A 3 by 2 to a 3 by 2. They have to be the same. Everybody see that? Right? If the dimensions are not the same, they cannot be combined. You either say cannot be combined, does not exist, something like that. On WebAssign, you're going to have some that say if they cannot be combined, say so. So you have to type in whatever they say. Very, very important though. Adding and subtracting, the dimensions have to be the same. So when I look at this, we're adding these matrices together, yes? Do you see the plus sign in the middle? All right. If there was a minus sign in the middle, what would you be doing? You would distribute the negative and then subtract. Distribute the negative and then add. All right. Same thing. It's easier to do it that way than it is to subtract. We'll talk about that in a second. But watch, guys. This is how we do this. First thing I'm going to do. What are the dimensions of A? The first one. It's a 2 by 2, correct? The second one is a 2 by 2. Are those dimensions the same? Okay, so you're going to create another 2 by 2. And you literally take, look, the top left number plus the top left number. See how they correspond? -1 plus +1 is what? 0. Now you can go any way you want, doesn't matter. I'm going to go to the right. So I'm going to say top right plus top right. So 2 plus 3 is 5. So now I'm going to say bottom left and bottom left. What's 0 and -1? -1. And then I'm going to say bottom right. What's 1 plus 2? 3. And there you just added those two matrices together. Does that make sense? You are welcome to bring colored pencils and stuff like that. A lot of times, especially with multiplication, it's helpful. It's really helpful to do it on Notability because it's really easy to switch colors and stuff like that. But the biggest thing with this is just staying organized, not letting your eyes go to where they shouldn't. Look at B. What's the dimensions of the first matrix in B? It's a 3 by 1. All right. What's the other one? A 3 by 1. Good. So can I add these two together? Yeah, absolutely. So this is going to equal, what's a +1 and a -1? 0. Okay. What's +3 and -3? 0. And then what's +2 and -2? 0. Okay. We made like a stoplight. That's fine. We're good. All right. What if the question is asked this way? What is the sum of A and B? What does the word sum mean? Add. Okay. So there's like a big plus sign in the middle here, right? Well, first we need to check the dimensions. What's the dimensions of matrix A? It's a 2 by 3, right? Row by column. What are the dimensions of B?
2 by 2.
A 2 by 2. Can you add these two together?
No.
No. So you would say cannot or can't combine. Because remember, when you're adding and subtracting, you have to have each entry in the first one has to have a corresponding spot in the second one. So if the dimensions aren't exactly the same, then you can't add them together. Does that make sense? You okay? All right. All right, so here we're talking about scalar multiplication. They're giving you the matrix, and they want you to find 3A. You literally are putting a 3 right here in front. What do you think I do with that 3 in order to find the product of 3A?
Distribute.
You distribute to where?
To
To every single thing in there. So watch, 3 times 2 is 6. You guys can go left to right, you can go up to down. It doesn't matter. I always go left to right. So 3 times 2 is 6. 3 times 4 is 12. Right? So, second row. 3 times -3 is -9. 3 times 0 is 0. And 3 times negative 1, negative 3. Good. Now on the bottom, 3 times 2 is, 3 times 1 is, and 3 times 2 is, and there you go. Questions? All right, this says scalar multiplication and subtraction. Okay, look at the problem here. What are they saying? What does this problem say? Distribute the 3 into what? A, and then subtract B. Everybody see that? So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to distribute the 3. So when I distribute the 3, 3 times 2 is 6, 3 times 2 is 6, 3 times 4 is 12. Agreed? 3 times negative 3, negative 9, 3 times 0, 0, 3 times negative 1, negative 3. Bottom row, 3 times 2 is 6, 3 times 1 is 3, and 3 times 2 is 6. Now, what are we doing with 3a and b? We're doing what? We're subtracting. So look, I'm going to rewrite the second. So 2, 0, 0, 1, negative 4, 3, negative 1, 3, 2. Yeah. First of all, to add or subtract, the dimensions have to be what? The same. Okay, this first one is a 3 by 3, right? And the second one's a what? 3 by 3. So can we subtract these? Yes. Now, you can do this 2 ways. Raul just brought up a great point. I'm going to tell you what I think is the easiest way to do it. But remember, each spot, each entry in the first matrix corresponds with the entry in the second matrix. You can say this top left 6 minus the top left 2 and find your answer. But it can get a little hairy when you have like negative 9 minus a negative 4. I think the best thing to do is when you are subtracting is to distribute this negative sign to everything in the matrix behind it. So when I distribute, this becomes a plus, right? Right? I'm distributing this negative sign. So this becomes a plus. And then what happens to every sign in the matrix behind it? It changes, right? So positive 2 becomes negative. 0 doesn't matter. Positive 1 becomes negative. Negative 4 becomes positive. Positive 3 becomes negative. Negative 1 becomes positive. Positive 3 becomes negative. And positive 2 becomes negative. You guys see that? You can do it either way. You can either say first entry, top left, minus first entry, top left. Or I personally think it's better to just change that sign in the middle to a plus and change the sign of everything in the matrix behind it. Either way you guys want to do it is fine. But now when we go to combine, 6 plus negative 2 is what? 6 plus negative 2. 4, okay. 6 plus 0. 6. 12 plus 0. 12. Negative 9 plus negative 1. Negative 10. 0 plus 4. Negative 3 plus negative 3. Negative 6. 6 plus 1. 3 plus negative 3. And 6 plus negative 2. That's it. All right, look at this one. We're solving a matrix equation. Guys, this is no big deal. 3x plus a equals b. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to rewrite the equation over here so I can solve. 3x plus a equals b, right? First thing we want to do is solve for x. So what would I do to solve for x? I'm going to subtract a from both sides. So this becomes 3x equals b minus a. And then what? Divide by 3. Okay, so this is x equals... Do you guys agree with me that dividing by 3 is the same as multiplying by 1/3? Yes. Okay, so I'm going to put the 1/3 out in here like this. And then say b minus a. You'll see why I did that in a second. You don't have to. I'm just going to show you why I did that in a second. Because since we're talking about matrices, so we're going to have like big boxes of stuff, right? It's easier to, if you're dividing by a number, dividing by 4, dividing by 2, something like that, just multiplying at the end by 1/2, 1/3, whatever. So all you're doing here, guys, is we're going to solve for x. I'm going to say x equals 1/3 times b minus a, correct? First of all, I personally, again, I'm just giving you my hints. I would write this down because is it A minus B? No. You got to switch the order, so it's going to change some things. So I'm actually going to write down the two matrices. So my B matrix is -3, 2, 4, and 1, right? You guys with me? Then I have minus, what's the A? 1, 0, -2, 3. What should we check real quick just to make sure we can go on with this problem? Are the dimensions the same? Yep, 2 by 2 and a 2 by 2, so we're good. Now, again, from this point, you guys can either subtract or you can add the opposite. I'm going to go through and change this sign to a plus, and then I'm going to change the signs of everything behind it, just because I think it's easier to see. So I still have my 1/3 out in front, but I have 3 plus -1 is what? -4. I have 4 plus 2 is 6. 2 plus 0 is 2. And 1 plus -3? -2. And now what do I do with that 1/3? I'm going to distribute it and I'm going to multiply it to everything. You can have fractional answers here. That's no big deal. So 1/3 times 4 gives me -4/3. 1/3 times 6 gives me 2. 1/3 times 2 gives me what? 2/3. And then 1/3 times -2 gives me -2/3.
So we can't use our calculator.
And there's your answer. Yeah, you can, but like 0.6666 wouldn't be an acceptable answer. Now, if you guys wanted to leave it as like this, B minus A divided by 3, right? You could have done that. You would have ended up with -4, 2, 6, and 2 divided by 3, right? You guys see what I did? And all that would do was just put a 3 underneath everything, and then you'd have to simplify, which you would have gotten the same thing. So it doesn't matter. Either way you want to do it is fine. I just like to pull the fraction out in front and then distribute it that way. Yes?
Would you want to simplify, like -4 and 2 can go to -2? Like, would you want to simplify if you could?
Yes, like 6/3 simplified, yeah. If you had like -4/2, simplified to -2, yeah. Whatever. You can get a fractional answer here. You should never have decimals. So if it's 1/2, leave it as 1/2, something like that. But it's just a two-step kind of thing. You're just solving a simple equation.
So we can or cannot use calculators in this chapter?
I would assume so. I haven't talked to the other teachers. I have to ask, but I would assume so. We'll see.
It's not like that necessarily.
All right, we're going to move on to multiplication. Multiplication is a little different. All right, I'm going to do 2 examples with you. And the way that I'm doing them, I think is the way that you guys should do them. It's a little different than our addition and subtraction. So you have to pay attention. The rules are a little different. When you find the product of 2 matrices, that means to multiply. The first thing you do is write down the dimensions of the matrix. All right, this first one, A, what is A? It's a what? It's a 3 by 2. Agreed? Okay, what is B?
A 2 by 2.
B is a 2 by 2. When you are multiplying, it's not that the dimensions have to be the same. What has to be the same is the middle numbers when you write them. The last number of the first and the first number of the last. You see how I wrote the first set of dimensions, the second set of dimensions. And these two are the same. Everybody see that? When they are the same, you can multiply them together. And the resulting matrix, your answer will be the outside number by the outside number. So your answer is going to be a what? A 3-row by 2-column answer. This is how I think you should set up every single problem that you do with multiplication. Write the dimensions, like I just did. Circle the middle so you see that they're the same, and then bring the outside together because you're like, oh, okay, these are going to be the new dimensions. And then write a little prototype of what it looks like, because now you'll see this is super easy to follow.
And when they're not same?
If the middle's not the same, then you can't. Like if it was a 3 by 3 and a 2 by 3, then no, you couldn't. You would say you can't.
Okay, and you stop right there.
So the way that we do this, okay, guys, stay with me. You take first row by first column. All right, first row by first column. We're going to find this piece right here. So I take -1. You guys see -1? Yeah? Okay, so I'm going to say -1 times -3 plus the second 3 times -4. So 3 times -4. I'll do it again. You take first row by first column. So I take the first entry here times the first one here and add it to the second times the second. You guys see that? That's going to give us our first little x value. I'm just going to write it all out and then we'll evaluate it. So now we're going to do the same thing. We're going to take the first row by the second column and we're going to find this piece right there. So I have -1 times 2 plus 3 times 1. Does anybody have any questions about how I just did that? First row, first column, finds top left. First row, second column, finds top right. All right, we'll evaluate in a second. I just want to show you the ins and outs on how to do this. So now I'm going to take second row, first column, and I'm finding this piece right here. So 4 times -3 plus -2 times what? Good. So now I take second row, second column, and we're going to find this piece right here. So 4 times 2 plus -2 times what? -2 times what? Yep. Now we're going to take the last row, first column. We're going to find that piece right there. So I have 5 times -3 plus what? 0 times -4, yep. And then to find the one on the right-hand side, I take the last row and the last column. Good. And we're going to find this one. So I have 5 times 2 is 10. Whoops, I'm getting ahead of myself. 5 times 2, sorry, plus 0 times 1. Now, you can evaluate this at whatever point you wanted to. If you wanted to right at the beginning, find each entry, that's fine. I'm just writing it out so you guys can see. Multiplication can be confusing if you try and do too much in your head. Use your colors on Notability. Use colors when you have this on your test so you guys don't get confused. But now when we evaluate, look, the top left, the yellow one. What is -1 times -3? 3, right? And 3 times -4 is -12. So what's 3 minus 12? 3 minus 12? -9. All right, I'm going to go to the top right. I have -1 times 2 is -2 plus 3 gives me what? -2 plus 3. 1. All right, now, middle number on the left-hand side. I have 4 times -3 is -12. -2 and -4 is 8. So what's -12 plus 8? -4. On the other side, I have 4 times 2 is 8. -2 times 1, so 8 minus 2 is 6. Bottom left, -15 plus 0 is -15. Bottom right, 10 plus 0 is 10. And there's your answer. Multiplication is what you really are going to have to practice. You guys cannot just do this one time and just be like, oh yeah, I get it. It's not hard. You just have to stay super organized. We're going to do one more together. Let's do this together. All right, we're multiplying. So Follow the steps that I just told you. The first thing I'm going to do is write down the dimensions of the first matrix. What is it?
2 by 3.
It's a 2 by 3. Remember, we go rows left to right by columns, up and down. Then the second one is a what?
3 by 3.
It's a 3 by 3. So circle the middle numbers. Are they the same? Yes, they are the same. So can we multiply these together? Yes. What is our resulting matrix going to look like when we multiply them together?
2 by 3.
It's going to be a 2 by 3. So it's going to have 2 rows and 3 columns. I think that is the best thing you can do to set it up like this so you can see exactly what you're trying to create. So we're going to follow what we just did a minute ago. I'm going to take the first row by the first column. This is going to give us this top left number right here. How many entries do I have in each? 3. So last time we had 2, so now we have 3. So we take first times first. 1 times negative 2. I'm going to write it out. 1 times negative 2 plus second times second. So 0 times 1. And then 3 times negative 1 plus 3 times negative 1. Does anybody have any questions about how I just did that? All right. If you want to go ahead and write your answer, if you want to evaluate right now, you can go ahead and do that. We can go through. What's 2 times negative 1? Negative 2, right? Plus 0 minus 3. What's negative 2 plus 0 minus 3? So negative 5 is going to go right there. Everybody with me? Okay, so we're going to go back up here. And I'm still on the first row, but now I go to what column? The second column. Good. And we're going to find this piece right here. And this is how you guys would show me your work. You cannot do all this in your head. I'm telling you, you're not allowed to. So first entry times first. This time it's 1 times 4. Agreed? Then plus what? 0 times 0. Good. Then plus what? 3 times 1. Now, if you want to go ahead and evaluate that and put it in your answer, perfectly fine. What is 1 times 4? 4 plus 0 plus 3 gives you what? 7. Good. Now I'm going to do the exact same thing, still with the first row, but now I go to what column? The third. And we're going to find that piece right there. So we'll say first times first. So 1 times 2 plus 0 times 0 plus 3 times negative 1. So 1 times 2 is 2. Plus 0 minus 3. What's 2 plus 0 minus 3? Negative 1. Questions? This is why I think it's really good to use color pencils, guys. It helps. So now we have exhausted the first row. So now we go to what row? Okay, second row, first column. It's going to give me that piece right there. So I have 2 times negative 2. 2 times negative 2 plus what? Negative 1 times 1 plus what? Negative 2 times negative 1. So when we evaluate here, 2 and negative 2 gives me negative 4. 1 and negative 1 gives me minus 1. And then negative 2 and negative 1 gives me plus 2. So what's negative 4 minus 1? What? Negative 5? Plus 2 gives me negative 3. Good. So now we're going to go, okay. I have second row, second column. And we're going to find that piece right there. So first times first. 2 times 4 is 8. Then I have negative 1 times 0, so plus 0. And then I have negative 2 times negative 1. So negative 2 times positive 1, I'm sorry. So 4 times 2 was 8. Minus 2 gives me, what's 8 minus 2? 6. Good. And we're almost done. What's up?
Isn't it negative 1 times 0? Right? 0.
0.
Yeah, it's like 2 1 with 4, so negative 1 goes with 0. Oh.
There should be a plus in the middle there. So now we're going to take the last bottom row and the last column. And we're going to find that piece right there. So we have first times first. 2 times 2 is 4. We'll evaluate in a sec. So 2 times 2 plus -1 times 0 plus -2 and -1, yeah? So 2 times 2 is 4. This is 0. And then -2 times -1 is +2. So what's 4 plus 2? 6. And there is your answer. I need to see the work all the way around. Very basic multiplication addition, but I need to see that so I know that you guys are following the process. Very easy to make little mistakes, and there's not a lot of partial credit we can give here. Because if you don't understand the process, you know, I mean, if you tell me, if you add wrong, something like that, okay, maybe. But if you're multiplying the wrong things together, then I can't give you partial credit. So just make sure you guys are following along with that. Sound good?
Yeah, I'm still a little tripped up on the order as to like how you know what to mix.
It's always row by column. So take the first row, the first column. And then first row, so if there's 20 rows, you just keep going first row times this one, then times this one, then times this, just keep going. Yep. So and then go to the second row. Yep, good. Good.